Alright, so last video I had a bunch of fun looking at, or a recent video, I had a bunch of fun looking at sort of a way of playing that is quite different than how I think through moves, though it certainly has some, features in common. I certainly do look at how my cards will play in the resulting endgames, but I tend to do that through calculation, and this was a very different way for looking at that, specifically kind of going through my cards, asking where each of them wants other cards to be, where it will have targets, where it's likely to be good, and holding on to cards that have more ways to play well, and trying to find ways to use cards that have fewer ways to play well in the specific squares they use. And this one, I want to try out a sort of different strategy. That one worked shockingly well. I suspect this video will not go quite as well. But the idea is just going to be to maximize combo squares. And I have looked briefly at this first game so that I can be a bit clearer, at least at the start of the video, rather than figuring things out as we go. But in this position, we have moves that can potentially go in 4, right? Once a card is in 1, the squares 2 and 4 are the squares when captures and combos can potentially occur. So 2 and 4 are the squares we care about. And we have lots of moves that can go in 4. Now, some of them are better than others. Some are kind of suspicious, right? But we have lots of things that can go there. Similarly, if we could somehow capture from 2, and we cannot, we'll get to that in a moment, and they had to capture back, we would be able to combo that as well, but again, they'd have to combo back potentially. So it seems to me both players have some play in 4. They're less likely to need it, so they probably can use whatever they want in 4. However, we have nothing for 2, and if we took, they could take back in 2. So 4 is a square both players have some play, and 2 is a square that only red has some play. We're going to be the blue player here. So the question is, what can we do that makes us catch up or have the advantage in number of squares where there is good play? And there are 3 ways to interact with the square 2. So our core goal is going to be, we want to have more squares with play than they do. Squares where we have a powerful effect to do, be it a capture or a combo or some kind of lock-in. We want powerful effects in more squares than they have. And then a tricky point is going to occur somewhere in the mid-game, probably between turns 4 and 6, where there's a question of, should we keep trying to maximize our combo square advantage or reduce our combo square deficit? Or should we start cashing in on the combo squares we have? And hopefully we'll get to see that in this one and get to see that more on. And I don't really have a heuristic or a guideline to when it is the case that we want to cash in and when it is the case that we want to create more combos. So maybe that's something I'll be able to try and figure out during the video. But there are 3 ways to interact with the square 2. We could go in 5 in such a way that it sets us up to have a threaten 2, 1866 and 8266 and 4577 now all have pluses in 2. This would also be a way to set up pluses in 2. This card would need a 7 facing up, we don't have it. This card would need a 3 facing up, we don't have it. So either of the cards with an 8 up give us access to 2. Similarly, in 3, our only way to set up for 3 is here, sets up 1866 to have control of 2. So either going in 5 or going in 3 are saying, we both have play in 4, you have play in 2, so I'm going to make sure I have play in 2 as well. And then the third thing we can do is we can just block 2, right? We can just take a square they have play off the board. And we'll get back to that one in a little bit. But the more obvious ways to do this are to set up our own play regarding 2. And I think a big question is, what other squares do they influence? So if we play 8183 here, we now have 2 better than they do. They have a plus wall in 2, but we have a plus, so we can affect both cards from 2, and they cannot. In 4, we have double captures. They also have a double capture, but we have a potential combo on that. So we're probably a little stronger in 4 than they are after this move, and we're definitely stronger in 2. You might also note we set up a plus wall for us in 8, and we also set up a plus wall for them in 8. And this is going to be one of the big differences between first and second turn, is if both players have combos everywhere, first turn is almost certainly going to win because they have last turn. So on second turn, we would rather have some squares that are a bit dead for both of us than have every square be good. On first turn, we'd rather every square has stuff happening in general. This is not going to apply to all specific cases, but this early in the game, we have to rely on general stuff because we're not going to be calculating out the whole game. So I would suggest both of us having a combo in 8 here might be a slight downside, actually. It might be something a little tricky for us, especially because we cannot play in 2 in a way that is not combo susceptible to 5. So that might be a downside to that move. This move gives us a little more play in 4. Also gives us basically the same play in 2. We have fewer cards that can combo in 2, but 2 cards that can combo is ample. And we do not surrender the same kind of combo potential in 8, nor is there combo potential in 6. So this might be a better move. I'm not sure. I think this move struck me as the more obvious thing to do. I think it plays better with our cards. And this is a card we might potentially want to use in 4. Therefore, expending it in 5 seems riskier to me than expending this card, which we don't want to put in 4 because it is so easily comboed. But thinking more about it, maybe this one's the better play, right? Because we're on second turn, we've got to keep that in mind, and we're not trying to maximize combos. And it does give us better play in 4. Having the combo there is really nice. What about moves in 3? Well, this is our only option of a move in 3. And it gives us 2, but it gives them 2 as well, right? We still have 4. They still have 4. We have some play in 6, though it's a little difficult because, if we went here, they still have, I guess I use the card that they'd need. So if they go here, note they have lots of ways to combo in 2. It would still be difficult for us to play this one. And note, much like on, this is actually interesting because it's true on both sides of the board. If they capture from below, we combo and they have it covered. And if they capture from below, not now, but at some point, and they capture and we combo, they have that covered too. Now, potentially, there might be something we have at the end. No, I don't think so. And it's not that they're going to capture immediately, but it's to note their captures in 4 and 6 we don't have as well covered as it might look like. But they only have 1 card for both squares, so this might be appealing, right? Both players have 2. We have it one way. They have it a lot of ways. They have it 3 different ways. Both players have 4 and 6, but we might have a little more there. So the key square of 2, they probably have a little better, but 4 and 6, we probably have a little better. And we can see they might be over-reliant on this card. And also if they lose one of these cards, maybe anytime we get under this card with 8854, they could be in trouble. So I think this move has some merit speaking for it. The last type of move I want to talk about is going in 2 and just blocking. Now, that doesn't give a reason why we'd use 1 card in 2 over another. But I think the reason is again going to be when 1 is played, 2 and 4 become the squares that matter. So when 2 is played, 2 stops being a square, but 3 and 5 become squares. So which card is going to give us the best play in 3 and 5? And the answer is a little tricky because it's not so much determined on diagonals. But this is a move that interests me. Because if they make some move locking in their card, right? And one important thing is when we block 2, we suddenly have a threat in 4. So they might feel obliged to respond to this. We have a very nice follow-up in 3. And this, I think, would be a very strong position. I think red has to be quite careful if they have a tie here. Blue is definitely for choice. So we have good play in 3 because we see we have potential safety in 3. They do not have the same quite as good play in 3 because we have multiple paths to attack anything they'd put in 3. So we would definitely have better play in 3 here. What about 5? Well, neither player has 5, right? So does that mean it's neutral? I don't think so. Because if the opponent goes in 4, they can be the one that determines what the threats are in 5. And I actually think this is a pretty annoying move to meet, because we no longer have our idea in 3. This position looks uncomfortable. That doesn't mean it's terrible or anything, but it doesn't look good to me intuitively. Because they got to control how 5 was accessed. And of course, we don't particularly want to go here because they have easy ways to capture cards, and none of our cards are safe. The locked-in card is more important. And this position may hold for a tie, but if it does, it would take some work to figure out. So I am drawn to this move because potentially it gives them trouble against 5, and we have safety from 3. In a similar way, I would not be drawn to a move like this, because it is not going to have safety to 5, and will we do threaten to go next to it in 3, it is so, no matter what they do, they're going to have some access to our card in 5, and our card in 2 from 5. So the general thing for playing these moves next to is you usually want a good move facing down so that you threaten, this kind of barricade, right, where they can't break through our cards in 2 or 3. Or you want a good move card facing to the right so you can follow up by doing something in 5, and hopefully this card in 2 is safe. Now here it just isn't. So I think my instinct is we really do want to play so we're strong towards 5. And I would like this move if it wasn't for this reply, I think, being very annoying. And I think this is trouble. And again, it is possible there's some tie down the road, but we're not going so deep, and this position looks worrisome to me. So of our options, I think this is fairly appealing, this is not very appealing, this is fairly appealing, and this is fairly appealing. And I hope it makes sense why we're looking at those moves, in that we have good play in 4, we want either our own good play in 2, or we want to just cut off 2 to them. And each of these moves creates some new squares, right? If we go in 5, that creates 6 and 8 as potential important squares. If we go in 3, that makes 2 a more important square, and also adds 6 to the squares that connect to something. And if we go in 2 itself, we remove 2 from the important squares, which is good, because we didn't have play in 2, but we add 3 and 5, and we should make sure that we have real ideas in 3, which we do, and that we're going to have much worse play than them in 5, but it turns out they probably will have better play than us in 5. So I'm going to play this move because I did play out a game before starting the video, and this was the one I did, but I think we should also look at this and this after and see how they work out. So I'm going to play here. And we can kind of look through the combo squares that are created. Every square but 3 is a potential square for activity. Now 6, there's no activity for either player. There's not going to be anything there. But 9, we have 8, 2, 6, 6 for 9. That's a beautiful card for 9. Note, they have 5, 4, 6, 8 for 9, or 4, 8, 2, 6, which are also very nice cards for 9. Everyone has good play in 9. What about 7? We have decent play in 7. Combos are great, but it's unlikely to combo anything extra, and we do have a 1 facing up, so it's not as exciting. Even if they can take the 8 facing up, it locks in which card they have to take with. They have to use the 5, 4, 6, 8 if they want to take, and the more we can make them have cards with needed uses, the more the rest of their cards we might be able to render obsolete. So something like this is a less appealing take in my eyes. We still have 2 many ways, and they do not. And we have captures in 4, and they have captures in 4. Sorry, I meant to drag their 7, 6, 7, 4 over, but I can't move cards when it's on the wrong turn. But none of them look all that appealing. Note, they have play in 7 as well. I forgot to mention that. We have good play in 7, but they have also multiple plus walls in 7, with higher outfacing than ours. So at this point, I think we can kind of go 2 ways. There is no square on the board where we have kind of like less combo potential than them, right? We have great combo potential in 9. Okay, we have a little less in 7. Maybe we could block 7. We have similar in 4. We have better in 2. So I think there's 2 approaches. One is to say, keep maximizing the combo squares. And this move springs to mind because suddenly we have 6 and they do not. Now, I kind of think this is a pretty big concession just because 2 becomes a valuable square, and I'm not sure how this one plays out. We can actually see. All right, the AI wants to go there. That is tricky because we cannot take it without being really susceptible to combos, right? Because we're weak to this card, and this card did give them combos in 2. So even though we have better combos, because we can hit all 3 cards at once, they have pretty good combos there, and they have last turn, so it's hard for us to occupy this square. We don't have a combo back from here. We sort of do. So if we went here, and they comboed everything, we combo back a decent amount, and we do get the tie at the end. So maybe this line ties. Curious line. But you can see how it's going to be complicated, and it's really susceptible to their combos being dangerous, and we have dangerous combos, and the game's going to take a bunch of calculation, and I'm just not going to take the time to do that in a video like this because it takes effort and it's boring to watch. So this would be an interesting move in 3, and I guess it's probably headed for a tie. The other thing we can do, though, besides setting up more combo potential, right? We can set up more combo potential. We can block a square they have better play in, but it's not obvious what that square would be because all the squares we have at least decent play in, so there's not really one we're getting crushed in that we just need to get rid of. Like, after their starter move, 2 was a dead square for us, so there was good reason to get rid of it. Now there are no dead squares for us, so there's nothing we really need to get rid of on that front. And the third idea is to cash in. And this is to note, for instance, we have good combos in 2 around their card in 1. Therefore, if we go in 4, we can combo that card back through 2. So one move that jumps out to me is to play this or this in 4. I'm not sure how much difference it makes. This is interesting because their combo plays are tricky. So let's try this one. And the idea is just if they take, we combo back in 2. We're cashing in on the fact that we have a big advantage in 2. We go in 2, we're going to take 1, and we're going to take 4, and we're going to have more locked in cards. So this is, an attempt to cash in. They just block 2. That makes sense. And probably play something like this. And it looks like they do get out of this just about with a tie. Interesting. So only got a tie that way. Let's try the other way. Try the other cash in. That's an interesting move because this way we didn't actually have a threat in 7 anymore, and we don't have a threat in 6. So they actually made 2 cards safe, which is kind of neat. And I think the same thing's going to happen as we just saw, is we're going to go 7, they're going to go 4, 8, 2, 6, and 2, and 5, 4, 6, 8 is actually a big problem for us, right? Yeah. So I guess we can tie, but no more. Interesting. So I guess we headed towards all ties this route, but I hope this kind of made clear the kind of 3 types of moves we're thinking about. Combo moves, cash-in moves, and blocking their combo square moves. So let's try our other ideas. One of our intended moves was this. This one's probably going to be complicated. Well, let's look at the squares. We have pretty good play in 8. They also have good play in 8. We both have a way to plus wall there. We still have kind of okay play in 4, and they have okay play in 4. We have good play in 2, though using the same card for both squares can be worrisome. They also have very good play in 2. Every remaining card there combos in 2. And in 6, we have 1 double capture, and not particularly great single captures, not the highest values out facing. And in 6, they have 1 double capture, and some stuff with decent value out facing, though not the double capture. I wonder if we can play this and just maximize combo potential, right? Because no square jumped out to me as they have play and we don't, so we need to block that square, right? I also don't see an obvious plan to cash in, right? We could do something like this with the point that we have the combo back in 4, if something happens to 8-1-8-3, we threaten a combo back. Or we could do something. No, we can't do the same thing in 6 because we have nothing weak to 9. Do we have any other ways to cash in? This would be an attempt to cash in, but they're just so happy to go in 2 themselves. and so we won't be able to combo back from 2. So maybe there's one idea to cash in. Let's see how this goes. Alright, they block the combo square. Makes sense. Also sets up a threat in 5, which means this is starting to look not so great. At this point, the game is probably primarily a calculation game, but my instinct is here. And then... I guess we get out of there with a tie. Alright, so that line tied. Not bad. But my other idea was to maximize combo potential. Right? Because this gives us a same in 8. It gives us bigger pluses in 2. It gives us a plus in 6 with 1866. Downside, it gives 4826 a plus in 6 as well, and it has a plus wall in 8. This position's going to be scary. Okay. So 4826 has pretty good power in 2, is dead in 4, mostly dead in 4, is pretty good in 6, and is pretty good in 8. 5648 is great in 2, great in 4, pretty dead in 6, pretty good in 8. So both cards are good in 2 and 8. You probably want to block one of 2 or 8. I also notice if we block 2, we can potentially lock in the card in 3. So I think I'm going to block 2 with a card that isn't more powerful than 3. So if they combo the thing in 5, which they're pretty likely to combo, we don't get comboed back. But it does flip here. Well, we're susceptible to combos anyway. This does not look like it worked out. Yeah, that did not work at all. Did we have a better way to do that? 4826 having the plus and 6 is bad. Yeah, this looks like it just didn't work. And I think this speaks to, if there's combos everywhere for both players, it really favors first turn, right? First turn's going to have a big advantage in a high combo game because they're going to have last turn. So this 8183 giving them that extra play in 6 and good play in 8 proved really dangerous. And the fact that we didn't have an 8 down, so we couldn't play something safe in 2, really hurt us. So I guess it made more sense to cash in here. And I think that's what we're seeing, is more often once we hit move 4, we want to start cashing in rather than setting up more combos. Though I don't think that's quite as true as it's going to appear here, because our setting up more combo moves really set them up too in 6 and 8. So maybe in a position where that wasn't the case, it would be good to keep setting up combos. What other ideas did we have? I thought this was an interesting idea. I liked that it gave us better play in 4 with 8854 and did not set up for them in 8. Alright, they continue the same way. And now, again, we have a choice. I think basically we have better play everywhere, right? We definitely have better play in 2. We definitely have better play in 4. Oh, we don't have better play in 9 anymore, because we used 8266. So we might just block 9. That's an idea. We can block 9, because that's the square they're best that we don't have. We do have ways to take, but no combo potential there. So blocking 9 makes sense. If we were going to set up more combo potential, last time the line we looked at was here, because it set up 6, but here we've already used this card, right? That's the card we dropped in 5. So do we have a nice move in 3 to set up combo potential? Again, moves that are diagonal from the action is where combo potential is best found. And I don't see it. So 9s comes to mind, and then there's the idea of cashing in. So again, we could play a move like this and try to cash in by comboing from 2 after. So let's look at our cash in move, and let's look at our block move. Start with the cash in. They block. I think we take our free square. And we blew it. I blew it. So I guess we take our free square, like I always said, this way, and we get ourselves a tie. Gotta have had to be a little more careful with keeping the 2 8s up. But okay, that ties pretty comfortably if you're not a buffoon like I am. What about blocking their key square? Now, we can't do so safely, but we don't really care that much about doing so safely. What we're trying to do is make sure we have more good squares than they do. So it's okay if something isn't that safe. We know this card's good for here, so we want to hold on to it. We know these two cards are good for here, so we want to hold on to at least one. We know this card's good for here, so we'd like to hold on to that. So probably the most expendable cards are these two. And here's the thing. Even if it's high out facing, it's usually better to do the high out facing play than the lower, even if it can be captured, simply because it limits their ways to do so. Also, this is sort of a cash-in move, right? Because if they take this, we can combo back from 7. So we could argue this is a good cash-in move. It also has the benefit of if we combo back from 7, we've used a card that would be good for 2, therefore it's important to hold on to this one. Therefore this card really is the more expendable card. So I like the look of this. They block 7. And we're getting into the part of the game that we could say is just calculation. But we could also continue looking at, who has the squares. And I mean, I guess they have bigger threats in 6 than we do, because that hits all our cards, so maybe we just block 6. And nope, I blew it. Alright, so maybe we actually just have to calculate. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe their safety in 7 was too strong. I don't see a way out here. So I think lost this one. Interesting. Looked appealing to me, but their safety in 7 locked in too many cards. So correct solution, cash in. Interesting. I guess this speaks to how much better 7 actually was for them, right? Because they threatened to go and... but maybe it's because we use this card. Let's try this one. Because now we have here. And we do get a tie. So maybe I did use the wrong card. Interesting. Just didn't think about control of 7 enough. Okay. Was there any other lines I wanted to look at? Ah, yes, I wanted to try this one. They set up 5, which is annoying. So the key squares are going to be 3, 5, and 7. We don't have great play in 7 because our capture is not safe out facing. We do have nice play in 3. And we do have play in 5. But it doesn't combo or lock anything in. So I mean, I assume this is probably the best try. They take, and now we try to find a tie. But this is not a very appealing position. I suspect it's lost. Can I get away with this? Or maybe this one. Point is, if they take in 9, we have 8, 8, 5, 4, but they can go elsewhere, and then it doesn't work. Yeah. So 8, 1, 8, 3 looks pretty unappealing. But you could see how it would be good if they couldn't capture from 5, right? So that's the sort of core 3 tenets here. Is we can set up combos, we can block combo squares, and we can try to cash in on the combos we've set up. And in general, once we hit that move to 4-6 region, especially on second turn, our incentive should probably be to cash in quicker because we don't want to leave a ton of potential combo squares lingering. Now, if all of those combo squares are dead to our opponent, that's fine. But if a bunch of them linger around, we can get in trouble in the late game. So we want to be pretty careful on how open we leave them, and we should probably look to set stuff up turn 2, and if we can, start cashing in by turn 4. So let's try another game. I had looked at this one a bit, but as you could probably tell, not that much. And we'll take another game with second turn. I think we tied there in the first line we tried, which we'll say is the game that counts. And Tezuka did in fact tie that game. So once again, we follow whatever Tezuka does, we can also achieve. And just putting in the hand. Alright, putting one of the cards wrong, but that's okay. There definitely wasn't accidentally a level 8 in this game. So should be booted up. There we go. And they have first turn. We'll try another second turn here. Is this the move that actually happened in the game? No, it is not. The game saw here. Okay. What's happening in 2? They have play in 2. We do not have play in 2, right? They have 4-8, 4-6 for 2. We do not. This might look very similar to last game. We have kind of lovely play in 4, 7, 4, 8, 4. Not only does it plus wall, but we can plus wall it back from 7, right? We can take that 8 back, and we can do so nicely. So we have really nice play in 4. They also have really nice play in 4. Importantly, not with the same card they have good play in 2 with. And so we want to make sure that stays consistent, because if they have one card that's great for both squares, that is trouble. So, gonna look very similar to last game. We have 4, we don't have 2, so we want to occupy or control 2, make a threaten 2. So let's look at 3 first. Can we play in 3 such that we're set up? This guy would need a 5 to the left. We don't have a 5 to the left here. This would need a 5 to the left. We don't have it. This would need a 9 to the left. Obviously don't have that. This would need a 7 or 9. Do not have it. This would need an 8. We do have it. So here, here, and here are candidate moves. We'll come back to those, but 3 is definitely a square we're interested in. We may also note, unlike the last game, if we go in 3, they won't have the double capture in 2 in this time. Last time we set up tons of their cards to have power in 2. This time we don't set any of those. They cannot take our card from 2. Which is probably the reason why the human playing preferred this one, because they saw these kinds of setups. What about 5? Needs a 3 up, don't have it. Needs a 6 up, don't have it. Needs a 5 up, do have it. Needs a 7 up, do have it, but it uses the card that we need for 4. So we're not interested in this one. Needs a 4 up, don't have it. So this was the only move that appealed on this front. So we have a 4th candidate move. And lastly, we could block 2 itself. And again, if we block 2 itself, we're going to want a high number facing 5 or a high number facing 3. This is our highest number facing 3, but they have a very good way to capture that. And that's kind of difficult for us to take. We have one way to do it, and it's quite susceptible to combos. So we're definitely not safe to 3. We could be safe to 5. And then there's the question, can they set up against that? And the answer is at least one way. And definitely other ways. So the answer is yes. We probably don't like blocking 2 this game either. So I think we're between 3 and 5. And we'll try both. I'm going to start with 5 because there's only one option there, but 3 is my preferred choice here. So for me, counting game results out, I'm going to say the move in 3 is my move. And we'll get to which card I'm picking in 3. Here, we give them more play in 4, right? 8-6-4-4 now has more combo potential in 4 than anything we have. But we have a same in 2, and they have nothing near as good in 2. We also gave them that plus in 2, so it is near as good. 7-7-7-4. I feel like they're ending up with more combo potential than we are. And we can already see they're trying to take advantage of it. This AI is not bad at all. It's the same AI I played against in the last video. But their point is anything I put in 4, they can combo the card in 5 and punish me. And maybe I have play, because I think all their combos are with 7, 7, 7, 4, so maybe they don't work, because 4, 5, 7, 8 can combo either of those back. If it goes in 2 or 8, that can go in 3 or 9. But potentially that's susceptible to combo, because if that goes in 3, then 4, 8, 4, 6 can combo it in 6. And we can see that they ended up with more combo power than we did, right? Because they had good play in both 2 and 4, arguably better play than we did, so it's no surprise that with them on next turn, they're ending up with a lot more combo potential than we have. And we could play this out, but I'm just going to go back and say we did not achieve our goals of cutting them off from combo squares and giving us more. So what about 3? We have 3 different cards we could put in 3 that have an 8 to the left. To me, this card is intuitively the most appealing for 2 reasons. 1, they have very limited ability to capture it. It's almost already safe. Their only capture is 8, 6, 4, 4, and 6. And 2, 7, 4, 8, 4 covers it both ways. A kind of downside is that now we're a bit over-reliant on 7, 4, 8, 4 because we need it for 2, we need it for 4, and we need it for 6. And so I think there is an argument for playing something like this, where we have lots of ways to recapture it from 6, and it creates the same threat in 2, right? Because in one sense, this gives us the most play in 6. We have a plus wall. That's fantastic. In another sense, it gives us very limited play in 6, because we're so reliant on one card, and that's already a card we need for so many squares. And so if we ever need to go in one of those squares while still having a card for the others of those squares, right? There are 3 squares we need it for. If we end up needing to play it in 2 of them, we have no cards that function as a backup for either of those squares. So I'm a little hesitant to do that. I think this is the problem, that we're still locked into the 7, 4, 8, 4. So my instinct says this is actually our best move, not this. So they did something I was worried about them doing earlier, and I didn't realize they could do. They have set up their card for 2 to also be great in 4. And now they clearly have better play in 4 than we do. We have better play in 2. Both sides have good play in 6. The last square is 8. And I would say we probably have better play in 8. We have a lot of ways to capture. So at this point, the question is, do we block a square they're good in? Do we cash in? Or do we set up more combo potential? Now, our opponent has a bunch of combo potential this game. So based on what we saw last game, I'm a little worried about trying to set more, because they're on first turn. And so we could do something like here, right? And try to set up combo potential in 8, because I guess we can't use that card. This card to set up 2, 7, 5, 8, and 8. But it's still setting up more things for them, like 8, 6, 4, 4 might find new life in 8 itself. I'm not sure this favors us. I'm skeptical of setting up more combo potential when we're on second turn, and when they have so much already. So my instinct is block a square they have play, or try to cash in. How would we cash in? We would play next to a corner they control that we can combo. Now, we don't have a combo of 7 from 6, so from 4, so there's no sense in playing an 8. We do have a combo of 7 from 8. We should check that that's not combo back. It's a bull. It's not. So we could play in 4, ready to combo back, except that none of our other cards can go in 4 while being weak to 7. So we can't cash in 4, looking to combo back through 8. Can we play in 4 looking to combo back through 2? Well, yes, we certainly can. Any card is ready to be comboed back by this, so all 3 of these cards could go in 4. We'll come back to that in a moment. We could also play in 2, looking to combo back from 4. We know we have a combo back in 4, so we could definitely play in 2 here. I think our plan should be 2 or 4. And I think the question is sort of like, what do we do when they occupy the combo back square, right? So if we go something in 4, and they go in 2, do we have stuff to do? Probably, right? They can't go safely there. We can attack stuff. This kind of position looks promising. So I think 4 looks appealing. And 2, we'd need to be weak to 1, so these 2 cards wouldn't work. But maybe we just say we can, grab... I guess we can't grab safety because this gets comboed, and this isn't quite safe. So 4 is really appealing to me. 4, we threaten to combo back if needed, and if not needed, where are they going? Let's try 4. I think we're going to take it. I guess they got a tie. Aw, shucks. Alright. This video's not going quite as well as the last one, but let's try a first turn. Let's try a first turn. And we'll actually take a first turn where we're the player against Tezuka and see what we find. I haven't really come up with a plan for first turn on this strategy, but it's probably, going to be to play a corner or side or center where we just have more squares where we have play than they do. So let's pop up the hand, see what we get. Alright, so we're the red player this time. And... Alright, nothing in 5 I think jumps out. Something like this kind of does, right? We have... they have 4 as well. I was going to say we have 4 and they don't, but we both have 4. And we have a capture in 6. They also have a capture in 6. Okay, that didn't so much appeal. Could also go here. We have 4 and they don't. Or, sorry, we have 6 and they don't. Or here, we have 6 and they don't. Is there another way to do this? Now, those seem the clear moves. Here, do we have 2? We do have 2 different ways. They can't combo back. Do they have 2? They have 2 with 3, 8, 1, 8, but we can combo that. And 8, 7, 4, 4, which we can also combo. 5, 7, 8, 1 is those cards really well covered. Now, potentially it can't combo there immediately because it gets comboed, but they don't have 2 that comfortably. We have 2 a lot more comfortably. I think this is our move. Interestingly, the player of the game went with this one. But we're going to go with this one. Okay. So which squares are their play? 2, 6, 8. Do we have 6? No. Do they have 6? No. They don't. They clearly went for safety for themselves, but they did not set up against our starter. We know we have slightly better play in 2 than they do. It's hard for them to go in 2. And we know we have no play in 8, and so they don't really need play in 8. There is no play to be found in 8. So one interesting thing I just want to say is maybe another way to think in this direction is follow out combo lines, right? So for instance, if we played here and they went in 2 and we comboed, they could combo back, right? And we know this. We already saw this. So one thing to do is block the combo square at the end of the line we've covered. So a move like this, or just, something there, maybe here, actually makes quite a bit of sense in just that we know they have a combo square in 4 at the end of some lines. If we block 4, now we have any move they play in 2 covered. And I think this actually makes quite a bit of sense from a kind of combo player's perspective. What else do we got? We could block 6. It's a square we don't have play. That's going to be a viable option. We could say we don't have any play in 8, so it makes sense to block, but it doesn't really. It just lets them go in 4. So I think we could block 6 because it's a square we don't have play, or we could block 2 because it's a square that they're threatening to take our card. But they don't really have good things to do there, so I kind of think I want to go in 4 or 6. And I think we'll try both, but we'll go safety here. See what they do. Alright, I mean, it looks like this is turning into a safety game. But a safety game that went our way. Nice. Alright, we got a win. They're not particularly showing off the style. So let's try something in 4. They took safety. What do we got? I walked myself into combos. They have the combo in 1. Chucks. Okay. So I definitely haven't figured out what I want to say about first turn on this strategy. But I guess a couple things to highlight before I end this one. Sometimes you just want to block a combo square. Sometimes they have a good square and you don't have play there, and you should just get rid of it because the longer it festers, the worse it'll be for you. And just saying they have a square and I don't, I'm just going to remove it from the game, is something that a lot of good players I think are really good about doing, and is a smart thing to do. Another feature is know when to cash in on your combos. On first turn, often leaving them open longer means you'll be able to hit at the end really powerfully, as long as your card has multiple squares it's good in. If your card is exactly one square it's great in, and every other square is terrible, then on the second to last move they block the square it's good, and suddenly you're left with something terrible. So being cautious about that, but in general, combo games where everyone has lots of combos are going to be favorable to first turn. So we got to be careful about that. And that means second turn should look to cash in sooner than first turn should on combo potential, seeing, I have 2 sides of this corner, they have 2 sides of this corner. That doesn't mean I should leave it open forever. That might mean I should play along one side so I can combo back from the other. Though usually that's when playing along one side forces them to go somewhere else, and then you have time to play along the other. So it can be unclear whether that's available. But second turn especially, I think, should be looking a bit to cash in. And the third is, didn't work at all here, but I think seeing things like, I want to go here, but then they go 2, I go 1, but I can't because they have 4, I'm going to block 4, is the same idea as blocking combo squares we don't have on the board. It's seeing, this is an annoying square, it keeps showing up in what I look at, I'm just going to get rid of it, can be a viable strategy. It was bad here, but it can be viable. And I guess that's all I have to say about this sort of combo square focused strategy. It didn't necessarily lead to huge combos, but the goal was to have more combo squares than they do, or at least keep it level and neutralize their combo square play.